Got Austin doing some valve springs in his 2005 Silverado 5.3 liter. He got the Truck Norris cam. But we already got this side changed out. We just need to torque the rockers down. We were using this, which was working pretty good for us. What we were doing was using a piston stop to make sure that we get the piston all the way up to number 1. And then we're just changing them. This tool right here, unfortunately, I think it's the Amazon one, like 30 bucks or whatever, but it actually works pretty good if you had an air compressor to hold the valves all the way open. But the bad thing about it is when you just got the piston up, the valves want to go down so far, and then it compresses the springs, which doesn't really give us enough room. So we're going to try it again. But if the spring retainer or anything barely touch the valve stem, it pushes it down in there, and then, because I mean it takes it a while for the valve to go down before it hits the piston, with the piston all the way up. But if we had compressed air, this would be a lot easier with this tool, but without the compressed air, this tool is actually working better for us. Which a lot of people don't recommend those because they're kind of rough on the springs, but I think it was working for us. But we were going to do the springs first, and then we were going to dive into putting the cam in. But there we go. That's using that tool. It's a Brandon loaned that to us, but I'm pretty sure it's like that $30 one off of Amazon.
It's in that valve, I think.
See if you can use the magnet and pull it up. Yeah, because that one's real far down and this one ain't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely.
See if the retainer hits the spring any at all.
Maybe not.
Or if the valve stem hits it pushes it down in there. And like this tool would work great if you had compressed air, but I don't have enough. That little tank I got, there's no way it would. I just got a little bitty tank. There's no way it would. And I've even got the attachment for it, but I just have this little bitty tank, and there ain't no way that's going to hold all that shut. But the other LT1 that I was doing the transmission leaks on, I'm going to rebuild his motor. And then I still need a trans brake for the Turbo 400 for the Camaro. But that's my old 4L60. And here's the motor I'm rebuilding. It's been sitting a while, so it's got a little bit of rust on it. So I got to clean that off. The important areas, someone put grease in, so that's just grease. It wipes right out. I know it looks rusted, but and they put it in the cylinders too, but again, that wipes right out. The thing I'm worried about the most is the head surface. It's kind of rusted, but I'm gonna try to get that off with like one of them straight stone things, but if not, it's gonna have it decked. I just gotta get out here and mess with it. The crank, it's been polished and everything, but it's got a little small rust spot on it too. But the main thing, and there's grease on the cam bearings too, but that head surface, man, that's what I'm mostly worried about because that's pretty thick. But anyway, back to the Truck Norris. Did you get it to work or no?
I'm trying to get in the pull the valve back up, but it sounds like it's on the end.
Just try to hold it straight so it doesn't hit any part of the valve stem when you're going down.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, you'd think that magnet would still pull it up.
It still holds pretty good though. think it's going down pretty good now.
Yeah, it looks like it. But yeah, these are the two new springs right here. You put new seals on both of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that magnet just ain't strong enough.
Still putting it down.
Or maybe the tool's going sideways. I don't know.
Piece one at a time.
But yeah, y'all, you just make sure the piston's all the way up, or use air compress with one of them things that'll fit in the spark plug hole, and then just use air compression and hold the valves up. You push the valve spring down, take the retainers off, undo your tool, take your springs and seals out, put your new seal on, put your new springs on. When you're putting bigger cams in these, you definitely want to check your retainer, lock retainer to your seal, and make sure that you got enough distance in there for the lift of your cam. If not, you're going to have seals beating on locks and retainers, and you're going to have a really bad day. But this Truck Norris cam from Brian Tooley, he said, you stock everything, stock retainers, stock locks. He sent some seals. I'll put the new seals on there. But yeah, we're gonna finish all these. And like I said, this tool is working better for us. Because there's a step right there in the middle. I don't know, but that tool is kind of hitting that one bolt hole in the middle, in between those valve springs. So that tool ain't really working that great for us. If it was the one that had the arch up at the top that Comp Cams makes, that's probably the better one for something like this. But I don't know if that just doesn't, that bolt boss doesn't set up as high on other ones. I don't know, but yeah. Yeah, we're going to get all these changed, and then we'll get some videos of taking out the cam. So after giving this tool some thought, I think this one would work fine if you had the perimeter valve covers. But that boss for the center valve covers is what's getting in the way of this part for it to go all the way down. And that doesn't give us much room here. So if you have the perimeter valve covers, I think this one would work good. And that's just a thought. I don't really mess with LS stuff. Actually, this is the first time I've ever messed with an LS engine, period. But I do know that some of the valve covers heads are perimeter bolts and some are center bolts. And those are center bolts, and it's that boss that those bolts go in that are blocking this tool from going down. So maybe if you had the perimeter bolts, this tool would work good. That's what I'm thinking. See, this is my son's WS6 2002 Trans Am, I think 2001. I'm not sure the year, but it's an LS1. But you'll notice on his are perimeter bolt valve covers. And the center bolt boss that a center bolt valve cover would bolt to, it's not there. So that tool would work perfect for Christopher's car, his WS6. But Chris is doing a cam on his car. That's why his valve covers are off. And he's making a video on that. So he's already done this before. He did this on a buddy's car. So he's already done that before. So he's going to get a video of him doing cam and springs on his car as well. So on his 5.3 here, since that center bolt boss is there that the center bolt valve covers bolt to, it's not letting that tool go all the way down for us to be able to press the springs down far enough to use this tool. So this one right here, made by Comp Cams, it goes over the top and then pushes the valve springs down rather than lays in the bottom there. And I think this one would work on center bolt or perimeter bolt valve covers. But this is just what I'm gathering. This is the first time I've ever done this, and that's just what I'm gathering from it. If I'm wrong, please tell me. And this is the one I talk about next here in the video. And Comp Cams does make one that kind of arches over the top rather than goes down to the bottom. It bolts in the same place. It bolts in the same place. Oh, bug went up my nose. But it comes up and over and then pushes down. Whereas this one goes this way and then it hits that stud that the valve cover bolts go in. So yeah, maybe if the perimeter valve covers, this one will work good. And this is just like one of them $30 ones off of Amazon, I believe is where you got it. Let's see. Can y'all see that? Yeah, look, it's got some Chinese writing or Japanese, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. Not well traveled, so. It says 67605 valve spring compressor tool, new WPU S0388. Kind of blind, hopefully I'm reading that right. And there's the barcode number, X002M. But yeah, if you have perimeter valve covers, I think that one will work good. As long as that boss for them center valve studs isn't there, I think that one would work good. But I think if you got that boss, the one that goes underneath the bottom there, I don't think it works very good. I think you need the one that comes over the top. I think, again, first time I ever messed with LS car stuff, but we used one kind of like that. Well, that is the one we used. We used that one right there. And it's working good. But you got to do them one by one. I don't know what the part number is on that. He had a box up here. Yeah, there it is. EverTough 67057. I think it's that one. Because we have that one too. It didn't work that good at all. So I don't know if that's the box for that one or if that's the box for this one. But this one right here, it worked good. Doing singles. It worked really good. A lot of people don't recommend that you use these because it's rough on the springs. I don't know, but that one worked good. This one did not work good. And then that one over there, it would work good if the center bolt screws weren't there. The little bosses that stick up for those, because that's where that tool tries to lay, and it's not letting it go down. The tool to go down far enough for us to push the springs down far enough. Okay, so this one, I looked it up online. There's a bar that goes through a hole right here too, but we just been putting a ratchet in there. But it is the EverTough 67057, that one. And that one looked good. You just slide those. Got a spring here. You just want to put these in a groove in the spring. And then these go on the retainer. Now you want it farther down, but put these in the grooves on the spring as far down as you can get it. And then you put that on the retainer part up at the top. And you just screw that down and that collapses it. Take your locks out, unscrew it, and then take your retainer off and take your spring off. The reverse way to to put it on. But I bet that one tool, the comp cams one that arches over the top, so it doesn't get in the way of that boss for the center valve covers, I bet that one would work great. But we'll probably never do this again on an LS motor. And I don't see justifying spending $150 for that thing when this is probably the only time we'll do this. But now if we was going to do this a lot, then definitely that tool would be best. But I'm telling you, this one works pretty good. So here's Austin taking one off. We're using that single tool now because that little boss that raises up right there in between them springs. Point at it, Austin.
Where am I pointing at?
Where the valve cover bolts to.
Oh, this.
Yeah, it's getting in the way of that other tool. So I'd say the perimeter bolt valve covers would work with that. Or maybe some of the other heads are different between Cathedral and where are the other top of heads? I don't know nothing about LS, see guys. Nothing. But I know how to change valve springs, and that's pretty much all the same. Just the tools are different on these. You don't got a stud to use that tool that I used on the small block Chevy on that video. But that tool right there works pretty good. Just try to get it as low on the spring as you can. And you tighten the end of it up. It compresses the valve spring. Can't hardly see because the light's blinding us. There we go. Ooh, see good now. But the lower you get that on the spring, the better it works. But see, look, you can already see the retainers trying to pop out. Let's see if we can zoom in on it.
Oh, God, they're loose right there.
Yep.
There's a magnet.
Now you can stick a magnet in there and pull them out. But the lower you get that, yeah, you've got plenty of room there. Just push the spring down and there you go. You got, there you go. Try not to drop them. All right, there's one, and there's another on the other side. They're like little half moons.
I'm at.
Once you get that off, you can pull the whole spring off with the tool. And then you got a little seal down in there. And we just been taking a pair of pliers, grabbing the seal, pulling it off. And I'm being shaky. I'm trying to reach over this truck. I'm short and fat. Reaching over a truck when you're short and fat, kind of difficult. See, and then we pull the seal off, just like so. If you got a bunch of gunk right there on the ledge where the valve stem and the seal was, you probably want to clean that off as good as you can. You don't want any debris underneath your seal that goes on. I think these seals are really cool because they act as a bottom bushing for the spring too, like a spring seat. So that's cool. So, I mean, the spring helps hold the seal in place rather than on this one. I was watching some videos. There's some others that you have to kind of use a tool to hammer on, like typically. But these seals here that he got with this cam, Truck Norris cam, yeah, it goes like that, and the spring goes right on top of it, and the seal acts as a seat and a seal and everything. And then he grabs the other spring, screws that one down with the retainer on it. Make sure you don't forget your retainer piece there at the top when you put it in your tool and screw it down. Well, he was taking the old spring off. Put your new spring on there. Try to get as much of it as you can so you can press most of it as you can. And then again, we just put the motor, we used a piston stop and stuck it in the cylinder, and we turned the motor over with this right here. It was a 15/16 socket. That's what this one was. And we just put a piston stop in there. You get them for like 10 bucks at Summit. And we turned it over slowly with this wrench until it hit the piston stop. So, I mean, you can use compressed air too if you got a good air compressor. And that little attachment that screws into the cylinder, but I don't have a good air compressor. So we're doing this. You dang sure don't want to do this with the piston down at the bottom, because if you still don't hold your valve stem good enough, your valve's going to drop down in your cylinder, and then you're going to be taking the heads off to get the valve out. We're going to try to attempt to change the cam with those dowel pins. We're going to try to spin the upper timing gear real hard and make the lifters come up, and hopefully they'll stay up in the trays. And then we're going to put those dowel pins in there. All right, so then he just sticks it back on there. Now on these little locks, you can use Vaseline or grease and stick them in the grooves, and sometimes they'll stay there. But
I think it works better without it.
Yeah.
For me.
If you do it just right and get them in there and then push the valve down into the retainer.
So I do it like that, and I'll just pull the valve up.
Yeah, that'll work. Oh, pull the spring up into it.
Yep.
Yeah, get them in there. Just remember, one goes on one side, one goes on the other, and there's a little groove in there. That one's trying to kick out on you at the bottom.
Oh, it's stayed up.
And they try to kick out on you on the bottom when you try to push in on them at the top. But there's a groove in them locks. It's got to go in the groove on the valve stem.
Ratchet.
But he's got them in there. He put them in there, and then I'm hoping I'm not making y'all dizzy moving so much. So he put them in there, and then he pulled the valve spring and the retainer up to it. And now he's going to loosen the tool up, so the spring opens up, and then he'll take the tool off. And that's it. That's how we've done them all. We put a piston stop in there, turn the motor over so it hits the piston stop. That way we know we're at top dead center on that piston. And then we put that tool on there, compress the spring, push the spring down, pull the locks out, change the spring, put it back in the tool with the retainer, compress it back, stick it back on there, put the locks on it, and then let the pressure off of it. And there you go. It's got 3 more to go. It's got all these done so far. And he's got this side done. I'm really not helping at all. I'm just making sure he doesn't miss anything, helping with that, because I'm too short and fat to reach over the side of this truck. It sits up off the ground too high for me. So yeah, that's how we've done it. And we're going to finish all these. We're going to do the springs first, and then we're going to go ahead and put it back together, and he's going to drive it to work Thursday and Friday, and then I think he's going to come over either Saturday or Sunday early.
Sunday's supposed to be raining all day.
Yeah, that's right. Supposed to rain Sunday.
Have to be Saturday.
So Saturday, I guess he's going to come over early, and we're going to learn how to do a cam on a 5.3. 4.8, 5.3, LS1, they're all the same as far as I know. But yeah, it'll be the first for both of us. We just do some research on Google, watch some YouTube videos, and
send it.
Send it. Yeah. Good stuff. But I put some antifreeze in the Trans Am today. Can't really see it sitting over there. I ran it for, I don't know, an hour. It didn't get over. It actually got up to 73 today, 75, something like that. But I ran it for like, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour. I ran it quite a long time just idling. And the fans did kick on, but the car never did get over 170. So that's good. Got all the air out of it and good antifreeze in it. Because when me and Austin was hot rodding it, testing the valve springs in that one to make sure we didn't get any valve float, we slung a belt and overheated the car. And we had to go down to the gas station, and we put straight water in it. So it had to have some antifreeze, because There's already been some nights it got down to 28, but I don't think 28. It still had a little antifreeze in it, so it didn't. It's not leaking or anything like that, so I don't think 28's enough for water to freeze in a block anyway. Overnight, now maybe if it was like that a couple of days, it might. I don't know. Anyway, it's got antifreeze in it.
I need a short stubby one. There it is.
And then I took the radiator out of this one because it's busted. I tried to see if that one would fit. That one's for a small block Chevy, but it wouldn't fit with these ears on here. This hits the frame on each side. Plus that piece hits the battery. But that's for a buddy of mine's, but I was just wanting to see if a radiator like that would fit in the car. Plus he was thinking about putting that. I'm rebuilding his LT1. And he was thinking about putting that on there. That's the LT1 Camaro like mine. That's out front there that kept leaking transmission fluid. And I had to fix 10 different leaks on that one. And funny enough, it's still leaking. So when we pull the motor out, we're going to try to figure that out. But here's my radiator. I'm going to get a bigger transmission cooler. I was using that little bitty transmission cooler, but I was using the radiator too. As you can see, it loops around, but let me see. Where was it? I was leaking over here. Yeah, you can see it right there. It was leaking right there. There is a little crack right there. There's a little crack in that fin, but I don't think that's where it was leaking. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let's zoom way in. Oh yeah. How did that get cracked? Look, it's cracked all the way through. How did that get cracked there? Man, I have no clue how that got cracked there. I thought it was just in the fin, but it's not. Zooming in, we can see. It's all the way up in there. I have no clue how that got cracked right there. And the reason I say that is because that was just right here like this. I mean, there was nothing there to hit it. Nothing to hit right there. I don't know. I'm thinking about doing a small block Chevy radiator in here. And then I'll just make a little fitting and put the back of the heads and run it to here. And then apparently that one you don't even need it, which runs to the bottom of the radiator on a stock LT1 radiator. And then these are your heater hoses. And then one way up here. I'm just going to plug those off. Because honestly, I really only drag race this car anymore. I mean, I'll drive it to Lexington for a cruise, or I might even drive it an hour to race it and back, but very seldom in the race season do you need the heater. But there are some days you do need the heater because your windows fog up. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna take the heater off of it. Actually, I'm gonna take that out too and put the plate on it, and probably take all the ducting out of dash too. And I'm probably going to take all the interior out except for the dash and the carpet. I'm going to paint the carpet black, but I'll probably take that center console out. I'm going to take the dash out and take all the ducting, HVAC ducting out of it. Put a roll cage in here, and then put race seats in it with a harness. But anyway, getting sidetracked. We're doing a cam and springs in this 5.3. So Saturday, we're going to put the cam in it, and we'll get some more videos of doing that actual part. But like I said earlier, Chris is doing a cam in his LS1 also, and he's going to make a video of that as well. And he's done it before, so he knows a little bit more about it than we do. We've never done this before. We don't know nothing about the LS platform. So if you see us do anything wrong, let us know. Oh, also the third gen Camaro with a 383 in it. That's no longer with us. He traded that he traded that third gen Camaro for this truck, and he just wants a little rowdy sound, so that's why we got the Truck Norris cam. It's got a good lope to it, but we'll definitely so you won't be seeing the third gen Camaro no more that we was messing with in some previous videos, but or you might, because we do know the guy that he traded it to. He might fix it up and start racing it, and we might see him at the track, but Austin's going to focus mainly on his Mustang. He got a he's got a been doing the back and forth mail order tune on it, and it's got it running pretty good. It just has an issue wanting to lean out at higher RPMs. We think there might be a leak in the fuel system in the fuel tank area, unfortunately, but he's got to address that, and he's got to address the transmission not wanting to go into third gear. But that car's definitely going to run good once it gets all straightened out. But we'll get you some more videos on doing the actual cam Saturday.